The internet has a simple rule for animals. If it looks neon, striped, spotted, or suspiciously beautiful, do not touch it. That rule is useful. It is also wrong often enough to be dangerous. Bright colors do not automatically mean deadly. But across the animal kingdom, the same visual idea appears again and again. Red against black, yellow bands, electric blue rings, hard white patches against dark skin. These patterns are not trying to hide an animal. They are trying to make sure it is recognized. This is Aposematism, a warning system in which an animal advertises that attacking it may be a terrible decision. The defense could be poison, venom, a disgusting taste, a painful sting, sharp spines, or simply a body that is too costly to handle. But that creates an immediate mystery. If predators want to eat you, why would you make yourself easier to see? Imagine a tiny frog on a green rainforest floor. Camouflage would seem like the obvious strategy. Brown skin, broken outlines, no sudden movements. Instead, the frog is brilliant, yellow, red, orange, or blue. It looks less like prey and more like a piece of candy dropped among the leaves. The answer is that hiding is not always the best option when you are already defended. A toxic animal still loses if a predator bites first and asks questions later. Venom, poison, and stings can be expensive to produce. Fighting also risks injury. So the animal needs a way to stop the attack before physical contact. Bright coloration turns a defense into a message. The message is not simply, "I am colorful," it is, "Remember this shape, because the last one came with consequences." Predators do not all understand that message automatically. Some show an inborn hesitation toward unfamiliar, high-contrast prey. But much of the system depends on learning. A young bird may peck an insect with bold red and black markings. The insect tastes bitter. The bird spits it out. After enough unpleasant encounters, that color pattern becomes connected to the experience. The next time the bird sees something similar, it pauses. That pause can save the prey. This is why contrast matters so much. Warning colors must be easy to detect, easy to recognize, and difficult to confuse with the background. Yellow and black stripes work across changing patches of vegetation because the pattern contains strong internal contrast. Even if the yellow does not stand out perfectly against every leaf, it still stands out sharply against the black beside it. Red, orange, yellow, white, and blue can all become warning colors. The exact hue is less important than the entire signal, including brightness, pattern, movement, habitat, and the eyes of the predator receiving it. A bird does not see the world exactly as we do. Neither does a fish, snake, crab, or lizard. A warning label must work for the animal likely to attack, not for a human looking at a photograph. Poison dart frogs are one of the clearest examples. Many species store defensive alkaloids in their skin. They do not manufacture all of these compounds from nothing. They acquire many of them from tiny arthropods in their diet, including mites and ants. The frog then becomes a walking chemical package with a visible label. This also explains a strange fact about captive poison frogs. When species that rely on dietary alkaloids are raised on a captive diet without the right chemical sources, they can lose much of the defense found in wild individuals. The brilliant color may remain even when the chemical payload has changed. Color and danger are connected by evolution, but they are not a live toxicity meter. Now move from the rainforest floor to a picnic table. A wasp lands beside a drink, carrying one of the most familiar patterns on Earth, black and yellow. Those bands advertise a different defense. The wasp is not poisonous in the same way as a frog. It delivers venom with a sting. That difference matters. Poison is generally delivered when an animal is touched, eaten, or otherwise contacted. Venom is actively introduced through a structure, such as a stinger, fang, or beak. The warning principle is the same. A predator that learns to associate black and yellow with pain may avoid future wasps before a sting happens. And once a warning pattern becomes widely recognized, other animals can exploit it. A harmless hoverfly may resemble a wasp, even though it has no stinger. To a fast-moving predator, a narrow waist, dark body, and yellow markings may be close enough. The predator does not need to be completely fooled. It only needs to hesitate long enough for the mimic to escape. This is Batesian mimicry. A relatively harmless species copies the appearance of a defended one. It is biological identity theft. But the deception has a limit. If harmless mimics become too common, predators may discover that attacking the pattern is usually safe. The warning can lose credibility. The cheats benefit most when enough genuinely defended animals remain to keep the lesson painful. There is another version with no harmless cheat. In Mullerian mimicry, multiple defended species converge on a similar warning pattern. Each one has something unpleasant behind the signal. By sharing the same visual language, they also share the cost of educating predators. Instead of every toxic species forcing predators to learn a separate label, several species effectively use the same sign. Coral snakes and their mimics reveal how complicated that sign can become. Many venomous coral snakes display vivid rings involving red, yellow, white, and black. Various non-venomous snakes have evolved similar banded appearances. The resemblance does not have to be perfect to affect a predator making a split-second decision. And simple rhymes about which colored bands touch are not reliable identification tools across every species and region. Evolution does not follow a human mnemonic. The pattern works because predators encounter a visual category, not because they recite a rule. Underwater, warning colors face a different problem. Light changes with depth, colors are filtered by water, and backgrounds move constantly. Nudibranchs seem almost designed to ignore those difficulties. These shellless sea slugs can be covered in glowing blue edges, orange spots, yellow ridges, and black lines. Many are chemically defended. Some obtain defensive compounds from the sponges and other organisms they eat. Others can store stolen stinging structures from cnidarian prey. Their exposed bodies look vulnerable, but the missing shell is not the same as missing protection. Instead of carrying a hard fortress, many carry chemistry and advertise it. Then there is the blue-ringed octopus, which performs one of the most dramatic reversals in the entire warning system. At rest, it can be surprisingly difficult to notice. Its body may appear pale, mottled, and compatible with sand, rock, or broken shell. But when threatened, electric blue rings become intensely visible against a darkened background. The blue comes from microscopic reflective structures called iridophores. Specialized muscles alter the skin around the rings, exposing and emphasizing their bright reflection. In other words, the octopus can switch from camouflage to warning display. And the warning is backed by tetrodotoxin delivered through its bite. This is not decoration. It is an escalation signal, saying that camouflage has failed and the next layer of defense is ready. That reveals an important point. Warning colors do not always have to stay visible. Some animals conceal bright patches until they are disturbed. A hidden belly, wing, tail, or ring pattern can suddenly appear during an attack. From far away, the animal avoids detection. Up close, it reveals a memorable warning or startles the predator. Camouflage and aposematism are not always opposites. One animal can use both at different distances or at different moments. So why are warning patterns so often bold and simple? Because predators have limited time. A complicated picture is harder to identify during a chase. Large spots, repeated rings, and clean bands are recognizable from different angles. They also remain distinctive when the animal moves or is partly hidden. Consistency helps too. If many defended animals in one area share a recognizable look, predators learn faster and remember longer. This creates evolutionary pressure toward local warning styles. But none of this makes bright coloration a universal danger code. Birds use intense colors to attract mates. Flowers use them to recruit pollinators. Fish can display bright patches for territorial communication or species recognition. Some animals are vivid because their colors become camouflage in the light and background of their actual habitat. Others reveal sudden colors only to startle an attacker. Even among warning-colored animals, the strength of the defense can vary with species, age, diet, location, and individual condition. A bright animal may be heavily defended, mildly unpleasant, pretending, or communicating something unrelated to danger. Aposematism is not a color. It is a relationship between a signal, a defense, and the predator interpreting both. That relationship also explains the greatest puzzle of all. How could warning coloration evolve in the first place? The first brightly marked individual would be easier to find, while predators had not yet learned what its pattern meant. There was probably no single route. Chemical defenses may have existed before the brightest signals. Early markings may have been partially concealed or only moderately conspicuous. Groups of similar animals could make predator learning more efficient. In some cases, predators may already have been cautious around certain colors or patterns. Once the connection became established, however, the strategy could reinforce itself. The more recognizable the warning, the faster predators learned. The faster they learned, the fewer defended animals they attacked. So the deadliest looking pattern in nature is not really a threat. It is an attempt to avoid violence. A poison frog does not benefit when it poisons a predator after being swallowed. A wasp does not benefit from risking its body in every fight. A blue-ringed octopus would rather remain unnoticed than bite an attacker. Their colors create a moment in which the predator can change its mind. What looks like an animal making the reckless decision to become visible is actually a carefully evolved negotiation. You see me, you remember me, and we both survive if you leave me alone.